And welcome back aboard the 4 to 7 pod. Chris and Jerry back with you again. We spent the last hour or so talking about the first 11 games of the Mets and Yankees season. Now it's time to go a little bit around the league. We're going to talk some City Connect uniforms, yay or nays with those, and we'll do some a little bit of news around the league as well. Starting off with the Vlad Jr. extension. A couple of nights ago, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signed a 14-year, $500 million contract extension with the Toronto Blue Jays, ensuring that he'll basically spend the rest of his career, most of the rest of his career, north of the border. He'll be there, pretty much. He'll be there pretty much the same amount of time that Soto is, and he's pretty much the same age as Soto. So, those timelines are kind of on a parallel now. I know that Vlad Jr. was someone, a lot of teams and a lot of fan bases were hopeful that maybe at the end of this season that that they'd be bidding for his services. I know that Yankee fans were definitely interested in getting him. I know that I'm sure there was a portion of Mets fans that definitely wanted to get him, especially if Pete was not going to be a long-term answer. If he is going to test the market, then
very much so.
I know that Red Sox, Red Sox fans amongst many other fan bases were definitely we're definitely getting a little titillated for Vlad Jr. But
it'll get forgotten about now because he signed the extension. But at the home opener last Friday, because it's the first game, they introduce everybody for both teams. They line up on the baselines.
Yeah.
And, it didn't sound like any of the Blue Jays really got booed like that because, again, what history is there? But Vlad Jr. actually got not necessarily a standing ovation, but definitely enough applause where you're like, oh, that's weird.
You got some cheers. They might be.
You don't normally hear that.
Getting ready for, they might be getting ready for something. So
yeah, it's like, man, they just brought Pete back off of the Milwaukee home run and after the saga, and it's like, man, we kind of made some noise for Vlad Jr. It's like, feel how you want, but I don't know, that seemed a little that didn't sit right with me. I
maybe
think now, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you got to have a little more shame than that.
Like I said, James,
it's a lost art these days. And I would agree, on the same front as far as Yankee fans chanting "fuck Juan Soto." It's like, listen, when he's there, when the Yankees play the Mets, by all means, I say whatever you want, but letting Juan Soto and Jose Altuve live rent free in your heads in games where they're not even playing you, I don't think is a good look.
Or Trae Young.
Or Trae Young. You got to save that energy for when they're there, when they're in the building, when they're actually, the problem in front of you. That's that's how a real big brother, a real winner would carry themselves.
Pod-Vlad sucks.
Anyway, I had to. I'm sorry.
Oh, brother. But
I'm sorry.
Anyway, Vlad Jr. Rent free. Vlad Jr. contract extensions. What are your initial thoughts?
So I was initially my first thought was, okay, well that's Pete settled, because I'm sure Pete will probably, especially if he has the year that we think he will probably want to test the open market, as he should. But I think this gives the Mets more urgency now. If Pete has this great season that we're expecting, okay, well, now you really have to get it done, because where are you going to go? I think this was something that even after all of that was settled in the offseason, it was, well, if Pete has his normal year, when he hits 40 and he brings his average back up, he'll test the market, and we'll see what offers he gets. And if it's a little too rich for us, considering he's over 30, well, okay, Vlad Jr.'s out there. Why wouldn't we bowl him over and give him the same kind of offer? Why not? And then, especially last weekend, because we were talking about the tampering that they were doing for Sandy Alcantara, it seemed like everybody in the Mets contingent was talking with Vlad Jr. before the first game. Like,
I saw
was talking to him. Lindor was talking to him. Starling Marte, who helped recruit Soto, was talking to him. So we're all like,
definitely some speculation there.
So it was like, okay, guess that's done. And now you better make sure you take care of Pete, because if he goes, everyone else got their contract settled. Christian Walker's taken care of. Any other first baseman of consequence got nailed down this offseason. So if you lose Pete, what do? You're going to bring up Ryan Clifford or Drew Gilbert and hope that they fix it right away? No, you got to take care of this. My second thought was he's really good. And I would have been, if it had came to it where, okay, we're moving on, Vlad Jr.'s the guy, I would have been fine with it. But I did think he's good. I don't know about 500 million good. Again, great hitter. I take nothing from him. I just feel like if that is like the Blue Jays are sending that message of this is who we're building around more than any of the other guys we have. But whether we keep Bo Bichette or not, or anyone else that comes up, Vlad Jr. is the North Star of this team now. And I get it. You drafted him, you signed him. You brought him up at 20. I mean, the world's been expected of him ever since he got into your organization. He's been your, AL MVP runner-up. He's been the guy that got you back into contention again. I get all that. But it's like, this is one of those things that if you're going to give someone $500 million over 14 years, it's got to work.
Yep.
Like, I mean, and it's the same thing with Soto, but I can also point to Soto's resume and go, I'm 99.9% sure it will. Yeah, I would agree with this. I'm like 90% sure Vlad's probably going to keep up those hitting numbers for a long time. Do I know if Vlad's going to get this team to a world title? Well, and my third thought was, I think part of the reason that they got to that number, one, because his agents were able to push for it, and two, he's put up the numbers, all valid. But I also think the Blue Jays couldn't let it happen again. And I mean that by they've been linked with every big name for the past 3 off seasons and got none of them.
Yeah, cucked by Ohtani, cucked by Soto. They're always
all of them.
Yamamoto, they're always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
So you couldn't have all of that happen. And then the best prospect that you've developed in probably since Carlos Delgado, maybe, and one of your all-time best hitters. And I do want to bring up it's a good Blue Sky post from Michael Baumann, who's one of my favorite baseball writers. He said, one thing I hadn't appreciated is how the Blue Jays haven't really had a true lifetime franchise legend other than Dave Stieb. They've had more Hall of Famers than you can count, but all of them had memorable stints with other teams before or after Toronto. Vlad Jr. could be the first. And so, that's part of it. But the other thing is they've had this bad luck in free agency. You couldn't let the guy that, he kind of got the Blue Jays the link from the Donaldson Bautista era, and they'd been a little bit of malaise. And then Vlad Jr. shows up, and instantly he's going to turn it around. When we get good again, he's going to be there. And, they haven't hit those heights yet, but they've become a playoff team again. And you couldn't let him be that all-star, be that MVP candidate, all of that, and let him get away too. So I don't want to say that it's like that this is a terrible contract or any of that, but I do think the number's a little high, but I kind of get why the Blue Jays had to do it, because they couldn't afford to let it happen again. Because if you let that happen, after all the free agency failures, what kind of image does that present to you as a franchise trying to acquire and keep top talent? When push comes to shove, we just can't keep anybody. So they had to do this.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. I think, I mean, I think that the 500 million, I mean, it's hard to say whether he's worth that much or not, but I really can't I really can't. I really can knock it, and I really, I feel inclined to say that. I feel inclined to say that I think it was a pretty good deal when you consider what the market is now, because it's not necessarily about, it's not necessarily about like how good of a player you are. It's kind of about when it's your turn to get paid. He's also, he's 26 years old. He's the same, or he's 25, I think. He's basically the same. He's the same age as Soto, or he's a yeah, he's the same age as Juan Soto, or like he's like a year younger. So it was his turn to get paid. Obviously Toronto could not obviously Toronto could not afford to I don't think, I think even if he like gets to free agency and you put yourself in that position where you could get stood up at the altar again, this time by like your own homegrown guy, I think that would be like a different type of hurt and a different type of embarrassment for the organization than having that happen to you with, external free agents that you're trying to add, like Soto or Ohtani. I think that having that happen with Vlad Jr. would hit and would hurt a lot different for the Blue Jays. So I think, they definitely needed to get ahead of it and get it done. I think that, you might say today, like that this is you might say today, oh, that's a lot of money. But, when Aaron Judge signed his contract, people probably thought that's a lot of money. And, that's a lot of money for a guy who is, already on the wrong side of 30. And, so for a guy who's already on the wrong side of 30, and you got to see how, and you got to see how he does, like, to see if like that's really going to be worth it. But, and especially because he was like, because he got injured that first year too. I think that casted a lot of doubt too. But now, like a few years later, like the Aaron Judge contract looks like a bargain in retrospect. So I could definitely see this contract aging in the same way, where one day like a 14-year, $500 million contract is looked at as a bargain. I mean, the same way that, you look at Judge's contract and think it's kind of a bargain, or you look at like Bryce Harper or Manny Machado's contract and think like it's actually kind of a bargain compared to like what some players are getting now. Because it seems like every time there is a contract, it does seem like every time there is a big contract, it kind of resets the market. But, this was obviously it was a very big contract. Vlad Jr. Gets a well-deserved bag, and you don't necessarily reset the market. And, for the Blue Jays, they're a pretty big market team. So, you still have the flexibility to add more. It's not like, and there's no deferrals too, which I like. Not that I have anything against deferrals, but, it's kind of a breath of fresh air these days, I guess, that when you see
one team it just seems to be spamming that. That's
yeah.
I mean, and I'm one to talk as a Met fan, but again, and every year it gets pointed out, it's like, well, this team also deferred money on a guy that hasn't played for them in 20 years or whatever. But it's like the Dodgers just like again.
Yeah.
So yeah, to see the Blue Jays as being like, I don't know, when we reconvene here in 2040, you're set.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that it's a a good contract for him and good business for the Jays. So congrats to both parties involved on that front. As far as the Yankees go, and like the Yankee perspective, it does, because obviously the Yankees are sooner or later we're gonna need to find a long-term answer at first base. And like Paul Goldschmidt, Paul Goldschmidt's off to a decent start this year. He's 38 years old. So like, maybe you can squeeze one more year out of him. But like, if you look at like the free agents that are, the players that are set to become free agents, next year, outside of Alonso, who also has a he also has a player option, so he could stay with the Mets. The pickings get very slim very quickly. Like, dare I say, I think Josh Naylor might be the best free agent option at first base for the Yankees next year. So,
and even then, he's in Arizona right now, and Arizona's shown a willingness to spend. So that's not even necessarily guaranteed.
Yeah, so there's really,
I think if the Yankees even wanted to get into a bidding war, it's not necessarily that. Oh well, we can't outspend the Diamondbacks, but I think even the Yankees would reasonably be like, okay, there's a certain number we're not going to go past for Josh Naylor, as good as he is. Whereas I think the Diamondbacks would be like, hey, look, we got to keep this bat in our lineup no matter what. So, but I think reasonably, I think like if you went past, I don't know, 120 for Josh Naylor, it's like, okay, that's a little rich for the blood.
No matter what. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe there's not really the sample size to necessarily justify, that type of money. So yeah, it all comes down to, what kind of money you're willing to pay him. I mean, if you can, the dude's also like a madman, but yeah, if you could get him around, if you could get him around like what his AAV is now, like around $14-15 million, maybe, maybe a little bit more, depending how well he does. Then I would say he's probably your best bet. I think he does have a swing made for Yankee Stadium too. So I could see that being a very good fit. And also looking at the Yankees, pipeline of their prospects, there really aren't too many like high-end first basemen in their in the high end as far as their top prospects go. And a lot of the first basemen that they do have are still guys who are still a few years off. Like Edglin Perez, he's still like 3 years away. I mean, you could maybe see Rafael Flores. He's a possibility to come up next year. And he could be a fit at first base because the Yankees hopefully were pretty solidified, because Flores is also a catcher. So hopefully Austin Wells can solidify himself as the catcher this year. It seems like he's on that trajectory. I need to see a little bit more. Just need to see a little bit more consistency out of him.
So you look at like the first baseman tiers. I'm looking at this from MLB.com. It's like a lot of the top guys are either signed long term, like Matt Olson, probably not ever leaving Atlanta.
No,
Freddie Freeman's gonna be with the Dodgers for the rest of his career. Bryce is gonna be with the Phillies for the rest of his career. Same for Vlad Jr. Or they're guys that are in the later stages of their career, like Paul Goldschmidt is, or Christian Walker. And decent chance when Christian Walker finishes this deal with the Astros that he hangs it up. Yandy Diaz is like 33, 34. So it gets slim quick. And then you look at someone where it's like, well, the Red Sox would never move. Like, they're just not going to deal Casas to you guys. That's not going to happen. And then it's like, well, do you want to trade for like Spencer Steer or, Christian Encarnacion Strand? And then you're kind of gambling. So
yeah, I mean, those guys are, they're nice, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm chomping at the bit to trade for them, or I don't know how much I'd be willing to give up for them. But yeah,
like
so
Pascatino, but like Kansas City, like has been willing to spend money lately.
Maybe they got that Mahomes money now, so so they're not necessarily they're not a big market team, but they're not necessarily a small market team or like a farm system type of team anymore. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a question mark for us going forward. And, that's another, that's like the top option off the table. And, we're going to have to see him like 12 times a year, playing in the same division as him. So yeah, that'll be fun. But, yeah, they need to, obviously they'll need to figure something else out at first base. Obviously I think it paints a clearer picture for the Mets as well. You kind of have to put all your, eggs in the Pete Alonso basket, and you hope he has a great year, and you hope that he signs a longish term deal with you guys after this, maybe a 3 or 4 year deal, and that it's just something you don't have to worry about for a while. But yeah, for the Yankees with 38-year-old Paul Goldschmidt, I think it'll be fine for this year, but yeah, they're gonna have to figure out a first baseman for the future.
But then there always is the thing that it's, a first base prospect. Every once in a while, you have someone like Peter Paul Goldschmidt, where because the general book is if you're at first base in the minors, your skill set's already pretty limited. More often than not, the best first basemen are guys that start in the outfield or maybe start at third base and then come across, the way Miggy did. Or you see a few other guys that Ryan Zimmerman did that. So maybe it's, it ends up being like an Austin Wells, like you said, or even Ben Rice, who I believe Ben Rice was initially a catcher, right? Or am I?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like you may be looking for one and you may be scoping across the rest of the league, and ultimately you just stumble into one by accident. So you never know how that might play out.
Yeah, there is a chance of that too. But yeah, it's definitely it's right now it's definitely an area of the unknown for us. And obviously when you're a team that wants to build around when you're a team like the Yankees, and you want to build around the fact that you have a hitter friendly ballpark, and you're known as you're the Bronx Bombers. You want people that can hit dongs, and usually first base is that's a position that you're expecting to get a lot of power out of. So definitely you definitely want it's definitely something you hope they can figure out, whether it's through the free agency or trade market or just by finding one by accident. So yeah, definitely gotta wait and see what happens there. Moving on though, so congrats to Vlad Jr. and congrats to the Blue Jays. Look forward to hopefully continuing to still beat you for the next 15 years. As far as in other news, let's get to before we get to the City Connects, should we get to Brickgate with the Pirates?
Yeah, let's do that, because we talk about shaming and how that needs to be brought back. I don't think, and it's weird because it might not even be the worst thing the Pirates have done in the past week. And I'm not even talking about stuff on the field. This is stuff away from the field. The Pirates just can't stop stepping on rakes, whether by accident or intentionally.
Yeah, so the Bucco Brickgate. So you might actually be able to explain this a little bit better than me, but correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. But essentially, when PNC Park opened, fans and season ticket holders were able to purchase bricks, for whatever purpose. They were able to purchase bricks of the ballpark as it was being built. And then a bunch of these bricks were then, and these bricks can be used to commemorate loved ones, or, maybe you commemorate your marriage date, or, something significant in your life with this brick. And apparently a lot of these bricks have just been thrown away. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, they found it down by I don't know if I'm getting the terminology right, but a waste yard.
Okay.
Or it's like a loading dock or something, but somewhere that should not be. And where it is kind of implies we're getting rid of this. We're just going to ground this.
We're just throwing this shit out and destroying
something that's literally been there since the very beginning of PNC Park. We're talking legitimately a quarter century now.
Yeah.
It brought to Reserve Township, where building materials are brought to be recycled. And it's just sitting in a pile, much like you would see, like if you go over to the Gulf Coast, you just see all these landfill piles of stuff that got damaged in the hurricanes. That's what it looks like.
I'll be back in 40 minutes. I have to take a quick trip to Reserve. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, just very odd, very mysterious, and just just kind of obviously the Pirates on the field are, that there's not really much worth talking about. The Pirates on the field are a disaster. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I mean, I was there opening day. There were sell the team chants. There was sell the team chants. There were people like Bob Nutting. For some reason, Bob Nutting decided it was a good idea to actually walk through the rotunda.
Yep.
Not sure why he did that, but yeah, people were like berating him to sell the team. Like one guy was like following him, like trying to talk to him, and he was just, I don't know what he thought would happen if he like showed his face in public at PNC Park. Like, I think like with the lack of shame that's going on, there's also a huge lack of self-awareness or just awareness in general. Because I don't know why you would think that's like.
I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Tribune story that they posted on this, and they link one of their writers' tweets who said, "My late father got this for me in 2001 and never told me about it. Took me several weeks into that season before I found it. Once I did, I never missed a chance to tap it with my foot when I covered or attended a game. I was stunned to find out they were removed and recycled." And it just says Joe Rudder, because that's the writer, Pirate sports writer, Joe's dad, Tom. And yeah, people are rightfully furious about this. And it's
like
Chris
people
and I
are
were talking about this before we went on air. It's like, given the other things that the Pirates have done off the field this week, like someone said, is this like, are they running the A's playbook here where it's like do enough things that piss your fan base off that apathy just becomes the default setting to where, oh, well, we could leave. And enough of your fan base is like, good, whatever, man. We're tired. Like, I don't think that's that crazy to think. And it's sad that I think that, and it's sad that people are looking at that and think that that's legitimate. And again, it's not off the table. And especially that this is one of baseball's original cities. The Pirates have been a part of the game since the very beginning and are a very important part of the game from the very beginning.
Yeah, same with like the Negro leagues and the Homestead Grays. Like that's that's a neighborhood in Pittsburgh. So yeah, like they've always, ever since professional baseball's been a thing, Pittsburgh has been a big part of that. And obviously the team as of late has been pretty putrid, and obviously they have ownership problems. There's unwillingness to compete, unwillingness to spend money to put a competitive product on the field. Whole laundry list of issues. They also don't invest, outside of not investing in, the on the field product and the players. They also cheap out on they pretty much cheap out on anything and everything they can. And this is just like the latest example of it. The other thing you were alluding to, which was, Roberto Clemente's, his thing in right field getting taken down for an advertisement for I don't know, it was like a high noon type of drink. Not high noon, but like something similar to high noon. Like
you were in the neighborhood,
like a seltzer, like an alcoholic seltzer type of drink, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, you're doing that in a climate where all this other stuff is also going on, and then you're taking bricks away, and it's it could sound silly because it's like it's bricks, but like obviously these bricks meant something to a lot of people, and I think it's just like an unnecessary like negative PR that they're bringing upon themselves, because I think there are plenty of Pirates fans, or like me, who I'm not a Pirates fan, but I'm Pirates adjacent enough. Like I live here. They're my second favorite team. I've been living in Pittsburgh now for, almost 11 years. This wasn't even something I was aware of. And this is how I'm finding out about it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, that's in that boat. And, it's just like, it's just another thing that they're doing. It's just a terrible look. And it's just like, why? Like, you already look bad enough. So yeah, it's hard not to, it's hard not to maybe think that, to not maybe your mind starts going in that direction. Like, okay, like what is the motive here? Are they actually trying to sabotage the franchise and piss off the fan base to the extent? I mean, there were 8,000 people at the game last night.
For a Paul
Tonight.
Skeens start.
Yeah, for a Paul Skeens start. It was 35 degrees. Yes, it's Tuesday night. It's 35 degrees. But 8,000 people for a Paul Skeens start in April. Like, just, you're not even, like, what's it going to be like when you're 35 games under 500 in a few months? Like, it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? And then you want to, like, throw out these bricks, like, yeah, it's
and
just
the thing with the Clemente thing. They said like that was an honest mistake and an oversight and all that. And there is the old expression: "Don't attribute malice to something that can be explained by incompetence," and that might be true.
Yeah,
but this just feels like something that could be very easily avoided, even if you went ahead and did it. If you just said, "Hey, look, we know we've had." I think the person even said, "Well, we didn't have that there coming out of COVID. We've used that space for advertisements before." Fine. But you've had that there. People know that's there. And I mean, I can't speak to it, but so much because I don't live there. But I've got to think that maybe for people our parents' age, Roberto Clemente is the most revered athlete in Pittsburgh. Now, insert Steeler here or, Lemieux or Crosby. Sure. But for historical significance and what he meant to the team and as a human being.
Yeah.
The Man of the Year award is named after him. I mean, that tells you what he means to the sport. All the Pirates had to do was just say, "Hey, look, we know we've had this here for years. We continue to respect his legacy and everything that he means to the franchise. We're taking it down. We're putting this there. We're going to put him in a new spot. You might not see it for a week, and then we're going to have it there." Same thing with the bricks. It could be, "Hey, we're doing some reconstruction here because we want to implement whatever."
Yeah. We want to add another.
You just might not see it.
Put another bar in the outfield or something.
Right. There's a very easy way to just say, "Hey, look, we know you're used to this. You might not see them for a minute, but we're going to have them back." And people would go, "Oh, all right." But
yeah,
right, the thing that I paid $100 for, all right, it's still going to be there. Cool. I'll just go to this place next time when I want to go see it. Easy enough.
Yeah.
It's a very easy thing that now you got 2 shitstorms in a week that you didn't have to do.
Yeah. I guess the silver lining is supposedly they offered any fan that was in attendance of tonight's Paul Skeens start, all 8,041 people or whatever it was, they all get offered 2 free tickets to other games this season for braving the elements or whatever. I can't help but think that's like their feeble attempt at like trying to save face amongst all of this, because like I saw that like after the whole brick thing came out and after like obviously the controversy with the Clemente the Clemente commemorance in right field. It's just all of it is all of it's just extremely unnecessary, and it's pretty unexplainable. Like it's pretty like unexplainably stupid and got to be infuriating if you are a fan that that cares deeply about the team. And if you have a brick and it was from someone that you love that's no longer here, and that's like you can't mess with stuff like that. Like, yeah, you might say, oh yeah, it's like $100 and it's been here, and it's been here for like 25 years, but after a while, like it's not really about the fact that people paid money for those bricks. It's more like the sentimental value behind the bricks and what the bricks mean to those people. So
it's one of those, it becomes a part of your game day experience. Like, oh, we're gonna go to PNC. Well, I'm gonna go visit that before I go in.
Yeah, and it's like, and if you're getting rid of the bricks, like I don't know, like if you are getting rid of the bricks, like I don't know, can't you just like can't you try and track those people down and like give it back to them or something? Like,
and you would think they have that on file, like that has to be somewhere.
Yeah. Like I don't know what systems they were using in like 2001 when they opened the ballpark, but
Right.
there's got to be some documentation or like
Receipts.
or even just some effort. Like, all right, like this says like like Hecker family on it or whatever. Like, all right,
Paid
like
for by.
who was a season ticket holder that with that name, and how can we try and hopefully like track that person down. But it's like, no, we're just loading them up in a truck and like dumping them. We're just dumping them in like a watering hole in Reserve Township. So yeah, just
As someone that went through bad ownership, but not nearly as bad as this, and not nearly as long, I'll never dump on Pirates fans. Like I just,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know what that's like.
Yeah, like I honestly just got to a point like being at the games on Friday and Saturday. Obviously, I'm always happy to, always happy to be at a game where I get to see my team win. But and my friends sometimes my friends they like to talk a lot of shit. And so I like to talk shit back, like when the shoe's on the other foot. Regardless of regardless of what sport. They obviously have more ground to stand on in other sports. And this is like the sport I have the ground to stand on. But like I just got to a point like where I was like, man, I just feel bad. Like I don't even really want to say anything. Like it's just like I genuinely just feel bad for you guys. It's like I don't have anything else to say.
On a related note, because I did see this picture circulating, to the Yankee fan that walked into PNC wearing a Yankees team jersey
with the name on it.
Whatever ass whooping you caught, it's your fault.
Yeah. Now, I wonder with that guy, was he actually a Yankee fan, or was he a Pirates fan kind of trolling ownership, or trolling like trolling the front office, or trolling ownership, or like trolling his own team, or was he just a troll in general? Like I'm not fully convinced that guy was definitely a Yankee fan. Like he probably was, but
in all sincerity, I would say it's more likely that if of those options that he's a troll that was like looking for a viral moment, like, oh, can you believe this guy? Or, was looking for something to happen. If that was a Pirates fan that was looking to troll the ownership or whatnot, like that's genius. Because that's like, hey, yeah, this is going to be you in 3 years if you don't do something, which kind of, as a fan of your team to do that, kind of ballsy.
yeah.
So I would respect that so much if that was actually the case. Whereas if it's just someone looking for a viral moment, like, well, that's not respectable. And again, if a Yankee fan if that was a genuine Yankee fan who did that, well, you poked the tiger.
Yeah, if someone does whoop your ass, like that's kind of on you at that point. I don't know though. Like in all the, at least I didn't really see videos of the guy, but of all the pictures I saw of the guy, it seemed like everyone was just kind of hanging out with him. Like it seemed like he was at a tailgate, like drinking or smoking something with a group of people. It didn't really seem like anyone. It didn't really seem like anyone was like, "Oh, hey, fuck you," or like, don't come into my stadium wearing that shit. It seemed like, but that also might root back to the apathy of it all. Other people, other fans were probably like I had a bunch of Pirates fans sending that to me, and I think everyone just, I think everyone kind of thought it was funny.
It's got to be a lot of Pirates fan being like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think everyone kind of. Yeah, it seems everyone kind of. It's a foregone conclusion that Paul Skeens will be in New York or LA at some point, which is like sad because like I don't know, like I feel like even with like when they had Garrett Cole, like I don't think the timer started that quickly. Like maybe it was because also the team was good back then and like went to the playoffs a couple of times, but it wasn't like the timer just started like because like it's like Skeens' rookie year, everyone's already kind of counting like, all right, well, when's he going to New York or LA, and are we better off just trading him now? Like his value is as high as it'll ever be, most likely. So yeah, so Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that is our Bucco Brigade report. Now we will move on to something a little more light, a little more fun. We got new City Connects to talk about and review for the 2025 season. So the ones that dropped, like, are these all the City Connects, or like are there possibly more that
So
might drop?
good old Wikipedia can always count on this. So they actually do have a list of the teams that are going to have it this year, not just the ones that are unveiled. So the Diamondbacks will be getting a second one this year. Their first one, all right. I do like the Serpiantes, the script. Like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty
The
dope.
overall design, yeah. So I guess the one that we're going to talk about with the White Sox, I guess, hasn't been officially out. I think it's more leaked than anything. Okay, so the Marlins are listed. We're going to discuss them. The Giants, we'll discuss them. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a few that have been officially released and already worn. There was another set of 4 that leaked this week. And then it looks like the only other ones that haven't leaked yet or debuted in at all, it looks like it's just the Diamondbacks. That hasn't made its way to the internet yet. And then the only one listed for next year. Oh, it's a good thing you got the gear ahead of time. The Padres will be retiring the pink and mint after this year and getting a new one next year. But the Yankees are not listed for 25 or 26 yet.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I might be in the minority in this. I actually hope the Yankees do have City Connects. Like, I don't think they should be like exempt from it.
I don't know if necessarily if wanting them to be exempt is the thing. I would say it's more like if you're going to make the Yankees do this, I just hope they're good.
Yeah, I'm just interested.
I like a good design, but you got to get it right.
Yeah, I just want it to be good, and I want to see what they come up with. Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see what they ultimately do come up with, if and when that time does come. But yeah, let's dive into the City Connects that were announced that have dropped so far. Let's start with just because I got my images here, so we'll just go in the order of the images. We'll start with the Houston Astros.
I like this a lot.
Yeah, heartbreaking. The worst people made a great fucking jersey.
Again.
This one I think
was face seamed, and those kicked ass too.
This one I actually think is a lot better. But yeah, I like the the color scheme is great. The star, it's like a homage to like their 90s logo.
Yes.
The hats are pretty cool. So yeah, just overall, just a very clean look.
And like the A is a little different from the lettering on the Stros. So it's like, okay, we're gonna try a little bit of. It's one of those things where you try to do a little of this here and this here and this here, and then you got 5 different designs and you don't have anything. But the Astros actually nailed this, because you look at the end of the sleeve there. That's a little different. The Stros on the front's a little different. The hat's a little different. But they all kind of complement each other so well that this is a 10 out of 10. I'm big fan. And like you said, I like that they included the star from the 90s logo, because I didn't like the blue and gold colors so much, but I always dug that star. And I like that they kept it around when they went to the brick red.
Yeah. And the A, it looks like, it looks kind of like spacey, like the line going through it, like, it looks like a UFO. So just a really cool design. If I were any sort of any sort of accepting of the Astros as an entity, I would definitely consider buying some gear, but I am not, so alas.
I do have to confess, Chris, I do have an Astros hat. Only
We
because
do.
it has the 2017 World Series logo patch on the side, and I think that's been the best logo of the century. And it just, at the time, I'm like, that just looks so cool. So,
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think and that's before that was before we
right.
knew what we knew.
Yeah, I got that like
And
right after. So,
yeah, and the World Series, the decline of the World Series logo is just
yeah.
that's a whole nother subject. I mean, I got my participation trophy hat here.
Hey, listen, I have my postseason hat. It is what it is.
Yeah, but moving on to another team that I hate even more, that also dropped. What I hate to admit is straight fire. Is these new the Red Sox City Connect.
Mhm.
So the UCLA Bruins jerseys were so those are basically like paying homage to like the marathon or something, or like the
Yep.
bus lines, right?
Yeah.
This is this is obviously this is the Green Monster. I love the color. It reminds me a lot of it reminds me a lot of the Jets, to be honest. Like that shade of like kind of like Kelly green kind of, or like forest green. It kind of reminds me of like the older Jets unis with like a little bit darker green with the white font. Yeah, just another, and then the white stripes. Like, yeah, I like that little B patch on the sleeve too. It's
Yep.
just another very clean design that I will never ever purchase or wear.
And totally respect that. I totally get that. But like we talked about this last year. We touched on the City Connects a little bit last year on the show. I've always said, like, maybe not every scheme's going to come off exactly how you want it, but I will respect having a good theme where it's okay, you're incorporating this and you wanted to try to pull this off. Sometimes it doesn't always come off the way you want, but like, if I could see what your vision was, I can dig it. And I like that the Red Sox were like, okay, the Green Monster is one of the things that people most immediately identify with our franchise. Let's try to play off of that. Well, that scoreboard's been a part of the Monster pretty much since the beginning. Let's try to do something with that. I know green isn't necessarily a part of our color scheme, but hey, let's play off of that. I think they did that really well here. I like that.
Yeah, no, I like it too. I think it's and I think overall, just from a design standpoint, like concepts aside, I think it's a massive upgrade from the UCLA Bruins uniform.
I would agree with that. I get what they were going for there. Like, even if it's not my favorite, it's okay. Well, that's part of your city. The Red Sox always have an 11 o'clock game on the day of the marathon, so that is a part of their team. Okay, it's maybe not my favorite look, but I get why they did that.
Right.
But I would agree. This, I think, of the two they've had, this is considerably better.
Agreed. The next one, this one, not quite as good, but we got the new Rockies City Connects, Colorado Rockies. Now, I don't hate the colors. I'll say that I do not hate the colors here at all. I think it's a pretty cool color scheme, actually, and I like the mountain with the baseball logo. I think these uniforms are a significant downgrade, though, from the the green like Rocky Mountain jerseys. My biggest issue with these jerseys is the way that the font kind of just cuts off, like,
yes,
at the bottom there. The way the font kind of cuts off, and the way that the mountain kind of like intercepts the font of some of the words, like, I don't know, it just looks very like I think if they would have like let the letters live, and then maybe just put the logo with the mountain with the baseball, maybe just make that bigger and put it like at the bottom of the jersey, I think it would look a lot cleaner. But that also might be too much going on if you do that. So I don't know, but yeah,
the thing is that this is not a button up; it's a pullover. So that's
part
kind
of
of unsettling too.
Yeah, I think that plays into I think that plays into part of the problem too. So yeah, these I like the colors, but these could have been, and I like the color stripes at the collar. and I like the stripes on the sleeves too. But yeah, the overall, this just could have been done. This could have been done a lot better. I would say this is like a 4 out of 10 for me.
So this is one of the ones that's leaked. So the Rockies haven't officially played a game yet or even announced that this is what they're doing, but this one along with the Red Sox had leaked. But with the Red Sox, it's easy to go, okay, well, that's the Green Monster. I don't know right away what this is. And I did some searching on this, and the best theory I've seen for this is that with Coors Field, and you see this a few times a year on the internet, is everyone will see like, oh, this is a shot from the upper deck of Coors Field at sunset tonight, and it's one of the best views in baseball, which I wholly agree with. It's like, okay, maybe they're going for that because other people are like, I'm not sure what other theme with the state of Colorado or Denver that this works for. And like you said, their Forest look, which was their original City Connect, is one of the best. So yeah. I guess every team's going to retire one and get a second. So maybe the bar was going to always be impossible to reach after this, but I agree. This does feel like a significant downgrade.
Yeah, for sure. Another one that may be a downgrade. Staying in the NL West, we got the new San Francisco Giants. Let me take this banner down for a minute so you can really see it.
He's debuted tonight, actually.
Yeah, they did debut tonight, didn't they? And I believe the Giants. I'm looking it up now. The Giants, I believe they lost 1-0. That's what you get for making such a shitty jersey. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. These are. I mean, I wasn't too crazy about the. I wasn't too crazy about the first jerseys, even though I like the concept of the fog and the bridge and everything.
Mm-hmm.
These, I guess this is more supposed to be like paying homage to like the music scene of San Francisco. That's something I was reading.
Yep.
That's something I was reading earlier. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the colors are cool. The graffiti font's kind of cool. Just overall, I don't know. I'm just not really. It just feels unnecessary.
Yeah,
like, you have your black and orange. Like black and orange is like kind of already your normal colors. Like I don't know. Yeah, it just feels unnecessary.
It's like the theme, the concept. I would say is an 8 or 9 out of 10 because it's like, okay, yeah, that is a big part of your city. And I mean, like I know the Grateful Dead have like. I remember there was older footage of them like singing the national anthem at like Giants playoffs games when they were in Candlestick. So like this isn't something that they've ignored before. Like they've made that a part of them. So like respect to that. But yeah, just in terms of trying to pull it off, I can't get with it. And I'm with you on the first one. I know a lot of people didn't like the fog idea, but it's like, okay, well, you have the bridge on there. That's a big part of your city. It's one of the first things people think of. And there's plenty of Giants games where you see the fog right on the bay, and you see a lot of pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge with the fog over it. That made I kind of liked it. That felt very different to try to incorporate the fog. Like, how do you make that work on a uniform? I thought they did, but this one, yeah, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I thought they made it work as good as they could. It just just the execution just wasn't quite there. And yeah, I'm not sure the execution is quite here too. Although speaking of iconic musical performances at Candlestick, it one thing comes to mind and one thing only for me, and that's Future playing Tony Montana at the 49ers playoff game.
That's amazing to think that was January 2012.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I'm like, he's been that big that like, because I remember Tony Montana being a big song at the time, and it was like, oh yeah, they play that before their kickoff. Like they've kind of made that their thing. It's like, okay, cool. I'm like, wait, Future's that big that they know about him out there. Wow, okay. like because it's like, okay, like Atlanta music gets down here to Florida, like you know about it, but it's like, wow, he's that big out there. Okay.
Yeah.
And now when they run the video of it, it looks like some video from like 2003. You're like, have we come that far that fast?
Yeah, and apparently he was boys with like Delaney Walker. I
Yeah.
mean, he shouted him out. But let's see, we got a couple more jerseys here to cover. We got these. We got the Chicago White Sox, Chicago Bulls uniforms. I think they're pretty. I think they're pretty cool. I think it works because Michael Jordan played baseball too.
Well,
And
the obvious one is Jerry Reinsdorf being the Bulls and White Sox owner. So yeah, I could see that crossover.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, and just overall, I think I like. There really haven't been too many jerseys with like the with like one color stripes or one color for the torso and then a different color for the sleeves, and I think that's like a hard look to pull off, but I think they do it pretty well. And I think that the Nike logo on this jersey looks a little bit more natural, maybe because it is more like basketball oriented.
Yeah. It honestly, like my first thought when I saw it was, it reminds me of something that you would have seen in like the East Bay catalog, or like when you would go looking for, all right, what's some jerseys I want, or what's some sports apparel I can get, and you would see something like that, and you're like, oh man, that's kind of cool. They would never do that though. You're just like, man, that's a cool design, but like, man, I wish sports leagues would try stuff like that. And it's like, well, now it's actually happening. Like it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, with these it's like I kind of want to see more, because this is just like a leak at this point, I believe.
Yeah, the White Sox haven't officially announced them. I think,
I think
3 or 4 have only been officially announced and or unveiled.
Yeah, so you don't have like the so you don't have like the hats and everything yet. So this is definitely something I want to see more of to really truly judge it. But I like where they're going with it a lot.
Yeah, that could be one of those things that, like, if they just wanted to keep that in rotation forever, like if they wanted to do that for 1 or 2 series a year, I don't hate that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't hate that at all. I actually think that'd be pretty cool. And then like you could do like, like how Yankees will do like their Aaron Judge basketball jersey giveaways. You could do like a Luis Robert like Bulls jersey giveaway, or
that's pretty slick.
Whoever or whoever whoever you end up if you end up keeping anyone, or if you ever have a franchise player again, and then give away one of their jerseys. But yeah, we'll see where they go. But yeah, no, these are really solid, and I definitely want to see more and see like the full thing in action and see it on the field, because you really need to see these uniforms on the field before you can truly judge them.
And the best part of this is that Tony La Russa is no longer there, so he's not there to provide the cursed image of him walking around wearing one of these.
Oh God.
I can never correctly judge their First City Connects, strictly because you just see him walking around with like his hat to the side, like, hey, yeah, I'm with it, right? Like, stop.
Could you imagine being a police officer and you're pulling over a drunk Tony La Russa, and he steps out of the car shit-faced in one of these?
Sir, where have you been this evening? How's it work?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
And then I believe this is the last one, but certainly not least. Or actually, I think we also got I think there's also the Marlins one, but we also have this one. We got these Nationals City Connects. I have an unpopular opinion. I actually think these are better than the first ones.
Ooh.
I thought that what do you call it? I thought that
the cherry blossom.
Yeah, I thought the cherry blossom. I mean, the cherry blossom concept was cool, but I thought the gray was very ugly.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I thought the gray was very ugly. I just think this is overall better a better uniform. And I like the color. I like the DC on the hat, and I like how we talked about a little off the air how they're starting to experiment with different W's.
Yeah, because I don't know if
the-
Walgreens has started to apply pressure, or maybe they're just looking at it like, hey, we've had the same W for 20 years. Maybe it's time to go in a new direction. One of those type deals.
yeah, or like they're just tired of the memes.
Yeah. Well,
Also,
my favorite one this year is that they're apparently putting Nationals Park is up for naming rights, and also they don't have a jersey patch or a sponsor patch. And they're like they're making that available, and everyone's like, well, Walgreens has the opportunity to do the funniest
thing ever. Yep. No, that actually would be hysterical.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I'm actually a fan of these. And yeah, I know that's probably not the most popular opinion, but I like them.
I would say I think on their own, like once I read the story where it's like, if you look at the uniform, it's a grid of DC city streets. And apparently the W, as I see it now, is based on the original Washington Senators logo from 1956.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
And the DC was something that I forgot was an alternate logo of theirs when they first started there. I forgot
That's
about
right. Yeah, they had those. They had the interlocking DC like back in the very early days of the Montreal Expos turned Nationals.
So there are some good concepts here, and like you said, I kind of wish I could be able to grade this just on its own, because on its own, pretty good. I would say a 7.5.
Yeah,
it's
you always have to
following the cherry blossoms, which is a tough act to follow.
Yeah, you do always have to kind of compare it to. Yeah, you always do have to kind of compare it to what it's to its predecessor, because it's only natural. Then I believe the last one to cover is the Marlins leaked City Connects. Kind of cool, Obviously, you got the Vice City vibes going. It's hard to really. This is like the best image I could find online leaked of it, which is unfortunate because it's unbuttoned, so you can't really see how it looks together. But GTA Vice City, one of the best video games ever made. So anything that pays homage to Vice City is cool with me. I always like that kind of Miami Vice color combo. I do think that the stripes on the uniform are kind of cool. I almost think this would do better not as a button up though, or as like a pullover.
Yeah, all right, yeah, I can kind of work with that. I like the color idea, the like not just the Vice City, but like the pastels, because a lot of art in Miami. So just presenting this to me, it's like, okay, that's pretty good. The two issues I have are, one is it's not that far off from the black alternate jersey that they regularly wear. And the colors from that are not that far off. So it's okay. It is a variant, but so much. And the other issue is that another one of the great original City Connects was the Sugar King uniforms, honoring the Cuban teams that would come to South Florida in the 40s and 50s. Those are ones that if the Marlins weren't in the NL East, I probably would have bought some Sugar Kings gear because it's a great.
Are those those are like the orange ones with the?
No, it's the red. It's so the jersey's red. I believe the hat's light blue, and I want to say the brim is red, and it's got the crown.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I guess I'm just colorblind.
Those orange, amongst the original City Connect ideas, that's got to be in the top 5. The Sugar Kings look, even as a division rival, I can't hate that. Yeah. So this is this is another one that's probably like a 7.5, 8 on its own, but it's succeeding the Sugar Kings look, and also it's not straying so far from their original look or what they wear normally.
The Booger Sugar Kings.
We don't have to disrespect the legends like that.
And it's just that's just where my mind went. Miami. and all that. I don't know. Never been there. I don't know what
I don't
they're
think they'll ever be able to do pure white uniforms. I don't know how that would go.
yeah, that yeah, might trigger might trigger some things. But yeah, those are the 2025 City Connect uniforms so far. I'll say this, while not, we have some upgrades and some downgrades. What I will say though is like so I think like with the first batch of City Connects, a lot of them were just like god awful, terrible,
Oh yeah.
like monstrosities, abominations. You know, insert adjective to describe something terrible here.
The Los Dodgers, like that's gonna be my default for like the originals just being really bad.
Yeah, like there were a lot of them that were just like complete disasters that should have never seen the light of day. Even though some of these are downgrades and some of these aren't that good, I would say none of these are like complete and total monstrosities. Like I think like these teams are like, starting to kind of figure out like what they're doing with the City Connects.
Or at least they're taking it more seriously. Where I think initially, especially
Yeah,
like the first teams that were given it, it was more of like all right, fine, I guess we have to do this. Let's just slap something on
just
it.
stick around with it. Yeah.
But enough teams have gotten lauded for the ones that they've gotten right or had success with it or sold good merchandise with it, where I think a lot of teams have looked and thought, okay, well, maybe this is something we can use to our advantage. Maybe if we do this right, we can make it work for us, and it's something that we can just kind of sell in perpetuity. Like, it'll be 20 years from now, and you'll still see those cherry blossom jerseys and hats at Nationals games, or you'll see those Sugar Kings hat at Marlins games. I know people make jokes about attendance at Marlins games, but those are a fixture now. You will see those. So it's like if you get it right, you can make that work for you.
There will be wearing one at least.
If you get it right, like it will stay in the rotation. And I think the Mets kind of were a beneficiary last year, where I thought our City Connects not bad, but I don't think I wouldn't put it in tier one. It was a 7.5, 8, but also the fact that it debuted in the season that it did, and it will be attached to the Grimace thing forever because I think those debuted around the same time. So those are always going to be linked.
Yeah, because the purple,
right.
The purple on the cap.
And I would bet you in 15, 20 years' time, I bet when you go to Citi Field, you'll still see a City Connect because they got the hats right. The hats were really good. I was a big fan. I bet you'll still see those. I bet you'll still see those jerseys walking around in 20 years' time because people will either A, they like them, or B, it'll remind them of that season.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. On both fronts. Obviously, it'll bring up fond memories of the Grimace Mets, and also, yeah, just a very good design. Like gray, like I said with the Nats jerseys, like the gray is kind of ugly, and gray generally is kind of a tough color to work with for a uniform concept. But I think they got it right with the gray and the purple and the city skyline and everything. Like, I think they
incorporated the subway too.
Yeah, and the subway, obviously.
That's the inside of the hat. Like you have the skyline with the bridge on the front, but then when you look underneath, like there's like a subway map on the inside of the hat. That's really cool.
Yeah, and the 7, and the 7 is also purple. So,
that's what really ties it together.
Yeah, no, so it definitely works. But
my only thing, I think I said at the time, the only thing I would have changed was instead of NYC on the front, I would have put Queens, because if we were the only team in New York, that would work better, but we're not. Like I think if we had the same concept with Queens, it's everyone takes the subway into Queens. People take the subway to the game. That makes a ton of sense. But they'll probably get another shot in a year or two, and I think they'll we're seeing with these other teams, they'll probably get that right.
Yeah, I think they'll do something. Yeah, I think they'll do something even more Queens oriented with their next one, where they actually like acknowledge it by name. So
I know they're not Queens, but if the Mets want to do like something Wu-Tang Clan related and like break out the black and yellow, I am there.
That would be sick.
Or if you want to do hip hop, if you want to have like G Unit themed uniforms, I don't know if those would go over as well, but I would also be there for that.
Yeah, just don't wear the Wu-Tang uniforms against the Pirates, and you'll be fine. That might get confusing.
I think that can be arranged.
Yeah, there's 29 other teams, but so we covered the City Connects. We covered the Pirates and their bricks and the Vlad Jr. extension. We talked about a lot, so I think we're pretty much done. You got anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
Real quick, R.I.P. to Octavio Dotel, Tony Blanco, and sister of Nelson Cruz, who were killed in the nightclub collapse in the Dominican last night.
Oh yes, R.I.P. to Octavio Dotel and everyone who unfortunately lost their lives in that tragic event. I think I had mentioned Octavio Dotel on an episode that we did, because I think we were talking about, like, aside from like Hoffman and Rivera, like best relievers on an episode or something, and I remember talking about Octavio Dotel a good bit. He was always one of my favorite. He was always one of my favorite relief pitchers to watch from the earlier, from like my earlier baseball watching days. So, definitely a big RIP to him and condolences to his family. Definitely only 51 years old. Definitely, taken away from us far too soon. So.
And a big part with the Mets as well. I always say that, the first Met team that I fell in love with and really followed every single day was the 99 team. He was a rookie on that team and helped them in the playoffs. And then his influence goes beyond that, because he was in the Mike Hampton trade. We sent him and Roger Cedeno to Houston, got Mike Hampton back for that. Mike Hampton was the NLCS MVP in 2000, wins the pennant for us. And then when he left in free agency, Mike Hampton's compensation pick became David Wright. So Octavio Dotel's fingerprints are all over the New York Mets of the lifetime that I've watched them as a fan. So not even just for what he did in a Met uniform, but what he helped lead to as well. His influence will always be felt.
Yeah, 100%. He did also play for the Yankees for a very short time.
An immaculate grid first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep. Yeah, he also had a brief stint with the Pirates. Had a very long career, and played for he played for a lot of teams, and obviously his impact was made across the league, and obviously the impact he had on the Mets organization and the Astros, and everything that followed. So RIP to a true legend. I hope that we do see him, even though he won't be around to see it. I hope that we're able to see him get honored, and I hope that we see him get into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, if nothing else, like, had the record for teams played for. I mean, you don't get a record like that by accident. You get that because teams know they can count on you, and they know what you've done and go, that's someone we want. They don't let bums play for 14 teams.
Yeah. Even in your older age, it also means, like, even if you're past your prime as a player, it also means that that you were a good clubhouse guy and someone that someone they wanted to have around. So definitely a tragic day for baseball. We're losing way too many legends of the game, and I wish I wish it would stop, and wish his family well, and just well wishes to anyone that is affected by what happened there. RIP Octavio Dotel. Good looks for remembering, because it almost slipped my mind, but we'd be remiss if we didn't if we didn't pay homage to him before signing off. But that's going to do it for us here today. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure, of course, that you're subscribed and following us. And we'll talk to you next week. And good chance we'll have our first guest outside, our first out of network guest in program history. So be on the lookout for that. And we'll talk to you soon. And hopefully our teams continue to rake and continue to do well until then. Peace.